we stand in front of Dollar Tree, and basically,
such as this thing here.
All right, I'm excited to have a guest.
Look, this is metal right here, of course. Everyone is.
Cuba is like they're under a dictator. RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 YouTube talk show, Sunday night edition. Looking forward to connecting and find out what's on your radar. And I saw a lot of interesting comments on this Uganda story. And so I thought I would check in, share my 2 cents on it. And just check in before this upcoming week. It's going to be a lot of fireworks this upcoming week. So I want to talk through it just a little bit and share my 2 cents, as well as check in and see what's on your radar. Because outside of the primary stories we're being told, there was 2 stories that took place on Friday that I didn't really see much out there talking about it, but it has to do with the next monetary order. And it's my suspicion that it will not include the Federal Reserve System. Therefore, gold will definitely have its use case once again, despite all the Uganda situation. So I'm going to share my thoughts on that. And yeah, it just, it's interesting. So, but we're going to have fun tonight. Hope everyone's doing well. As always, for those that are tuning in for the first time, my name is Mike, the host. I want to make sure I welcome any first-time viewers. Let me know where you're watching from via the chat. And then when the phone lines open up, I would love to hear from you guys directly. And let me see here. Let me just check in real quick. So as always, want to make sure I remind people, if you want to be notified, I would advise you to click the bell notification. You might not accept the algorithms, but hopefully you are. And make sure you subscribe if you happen to come across this for the first time. And, the most important thing is connecting with this community off of YouTube. And I got all these social platforms here where it'll be good to connect just in case we're unplugged from here, which I believe in the near future, that will be the case because of the agenda to stop the mis and disinformation that the mainstream media will continue to overhype, as well as politicians, you name it. So they're going to crank that up. So you got to make sure you connect with your favorite content creators off of these centrally controlled channels. But anyway, let me check in via the chat real quick, and I'll jump in, share my 2 cents on some stories, some really, really important stories, I think, because it just tells us the season that we're in right now and how I think my projection for the next 6 months and the possibility of being given an alternative system publicly from the people out east is definitely on track. But I'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, let me check in real quick. And if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button. Show your support for the channel. Hopefully that helps out. And let the algorithm know that there's people out there that really, mess with this message. So anyway, we got Marcy Townsend checking in. Let me say, Uganda will certainly need some democracy soon. Can't wait to hear the scoop, Mike. It's more to that story than we're being told. And I got some suspicions as to why that is and possibly how things will play out. And it will not impact the price of gold one bit in a negative sense. So I saw a lot of people out there on Twitter sphere talking about how the Uganda story is going to smash gold. It's going to be demonetized. Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyway, we got MW checking in. We got Food Hoarder checking in. Appreciate you. We got Midnight Green, Albert. We got Albert. We got low blood pressure, Robert. Let me see here. Dude Boy, Faith checking in. Gail checking in as well. Faith is all that's needed, and 100%. Patrick checking in. Roger. My Royal Maker Life. Appreciate you, Kenneth. All right, got a few people here. Fred Luna checking in. Window LTC in the building. Gene, Frank. Okay, fair amount of people here, man. Appreciate you. Won't be long. Just wanted to check in, go through a couple headlines, share my 2 cents, open up the phone lines, hear from you guys, and then we'll get ready for a fiery week. It's going to be hot this week. I'm telling you, it's just going to be real hot. And all markets will definitely be impacted, but that it doesn't matter because the disconnect between the virtual and the paper and the digital from the physical will start to separate themselves. So you know my motto, make sure you get your weight up. Okay, let's check in real quick. So let me get so just to give you a heads up as to what is brewing right now. I was looking at the futures indices, and as of right now, let me close some windows here. As of right now, we got the Dow and S&P 500 and the other U.S. indices here as of the futures markets are open, as of right now, we're already in the red. So that's just something to, more than likely will continue into the morning. So there's going to be continuous pressure downward on the economy due to the monetary policy at play. So there's no outright good news coming from any sources when central banks are deliberately withdrawing funny currency and the support for the system. So it's can be continuous downward pressure until something gives. So expect that. Therefore, more volatility. All right, so let's just check in real quick. So I want to touch on the primary story that brought you guys here, and it has to do with the Uganda Discovery. And so it came out, I think, about a week ago, but it happened to hit the airways via the social media sphere. It came across my attention maybe 4 days ago, and I put out a tweet, responding immediately my initial thoughts, and I'll reiterate that tonight, just because it's important, I think, to get a much broader picture rather than just Uganda says they discover gold. Okay, what does that mean? The continent of Africa and a whole is loaded with gold. Like, it is probably an unfathomable amount of gold beneath that surface. But that doesn't mean that it's going to see the light of day. And I think this Uganda situation is, whether it's genuine or not, it doesn't matter. Uganda's caught in the middle of a global power struggle right now. So either way it go, I don't see that gold coming out of the ground, and I'm going to explain more why that is. And if it does come out the ground, it will not impact the global plan of utilizing gold as an anchor to reestablish trust amongst the nations, amongst countries, because once again, the CBDCs and all this stuff, that's still coming, but it has nothing to do with what the governments want to do. So this Uganda gold is not, it's more to the story. But anyway, just real quick for those who may not heard about it, give you an idea. It says Uganda. Let me zoom in some so you guys can see it, and then I'll share more because it story builds up. So stick around. It says Uganda has announced that it has struck a deposit of 31 million tons of gold ore, with the extractable pure gold estimated to gross 320,000 tons. Okay, so that's a heck of a find. But as I just started before, the whole, every country in the continent of Africa is sitting on something sick like that, amongst all types of other stuff. That doesn't mean that just because they say they have it, it's something that will see the light of day. It says President broke news in the Fine and State of the Nation address on Tuesday, June 7th, but provided little detail, pointing in general to that it would fetch the country more than $12 trillion. So that's $12 trillion according to that weight and the current dollar amount for gold, if it was to come up above the ground. But mind you, you can't just stick your hand down there and grab 31 million tons or 320,000 tons. It would take a lot of energy and a lot of planning, a lot of technology, a lot of equipment that Uganda doesn't have. So they're going to need. So if that's there, they're going to need help, and I'm going to tell you who that help would be. And so, long story short, this gold that is there supposedly is not going to end up benefiting Uganda one bit. Mark my words. If this story is true. But anyway, it says technocrats in the energy and mineral departments informed the cabinet that the country was positioned to get slightly under $700 million in royalty payments, with the investors poised to cash in on the windfall. So they'll probably end up, sourcing some of that out. And as it says, they're using the royalty payments. It says citing 6 local gold refineries among the African gold refinery in the United Nations. It says sanctioned in March over illicit sources of its gold. The president declared that this time for Uganda to ship unprocessed exports is over. So basically, because of the sanctions, I'm going to get to in a minute, Uganda said they will no longer export some of their gold. They're going to keep it in-house. Okay, that's fine. Let's keep moving. So let me share with you more information. And so here's the tug of war that the country of Uganda would have if they continue to move forward. Because as of right now, Uganda is on the U.S.'s heavy sanctions list. There are military sanctions, there's political figure sanctions. So Uganda, from the West standards, has been a very naughty country. Therefore, they're going to always face pushback in the global monetary system, because if they try to extract this gold from the ground, they're going to need some financing. They're going to need help. They're going to need all types of things that the country of Uganda, in my opinion, probably don't have. They don't have the infrastructure to get that out in a healthy manner. So therefore, they're going to require some help. And so So to combat and to go against these sanctions that's posed by the West, they're going to need some help. And Uganda is a heavily indebted nation. Therefore, the country of Uganda don't really own themselves. The country of Uganda, unfortunately, was already sold to another nation that is helping them build infrastructure for their own purposes. And that country happens to be China. And so you have the West on one hand sanctioning Uganda for all of its fraudulent activity. Of course, the West is doing it because it wants something out of that package. And the sanctions, I would imagine, is probably geared towards the fact that they have sold their country to China. And so to help keep Uganda from, reaping the fruits of their hard labor as well as the richness of their territory, those sanctions keep other countries from being able to support them financially. So Uganda as a whole is going through some financial heartache right now, intentionally. And it's probably a way for the West to counter China's movement, because China has came into Uganda and basically bought the country. So Uganda don't own themselves. So it's that tug of war I'm talking about. So the Ugandan gold, if it is there, it already has its claims. Either the West will make sure it doesn't come up because they'll false flag some type of event. You know what I'm saying? Things happen when you go against the West's plans. But then on the other end, the country is owned by China. So therefore, they owe China pretty much everything on the ground and underneath the ground. And so this plays into why this Uganda story sounds good. But then again, be leery of what you're told. So keep it going. Here we go. So for those just coming in, I just talked about how, the Uganda government last Tuesday announced that they got 320,000 tons of gold underground. They're not exporting any more gold out of the country. They're going to try to do everything in-house. But then again, they don't have the infrastructure, so they're going to need some help. And so they are already heavily sanctioned by the U.S. for all types of things. It's been going on for quite some time now. So they're not going to be able to have the capital to do that, or the infrastructure, or the tools, or whatever. So they're going to have to probably end up giving some of that away or using the help of China. And so here is an article right here. It says, Uganda proves why relying on China is so dangerous. And as I mentioned, China has basically taken over the country of Uganda just because it's a part of the Silk Road, One Belt, One Road, the whole maritime. So China and everything they're doing in Asia all the way through happens to impact Africa severely, because all the rich minerals and things needed to fulfill that plan comes from the continent of Africa. That's why the Asian presence in the continent of Africa is everywhere. So as I've said before, from rants years ago, the continent of Africa is the most wealthiest spot that we know on this planet. And the whole war over the last 20, 30 years in reference to positioning for the post-dollar monetary world order is going to be centered around the resources that come from the continent of Africa. So this Uganda find, amongst many other that I'm sure we haven't heard about yet, they already got China already has dibs on it firsthand. And so here is more of a story as to why going into debt to another nation that doesn't have your best interest at heart is very dangerous, because that gold is already owed to China. So let me give you a little rundown on what's happening for those who may not know. So this article came out last year, but it's timely because the debt's still there. So I talked about how China has basically been funding using their dollar reserve, their treasuries. They've been drawing down their treasury reserve holdings over the last 10, 15 years, using it to build out infrastructure in countries such as Africa as a part of their plan of using their debt liabilities from the U.S. to actually build real world things, and of course, in Uganda as well. And so just a long story short here, it says Uganda's only international airport is again the site of controversy, facing challenges in paying its $200 million loan to China. Funds is used to expand its facility. Uganda is learning a lesson that the rest of Africa should take to heart. Financial entanglements with an authoritarian bully is beyond dangerous. Here's why. So because China owns pretty much everything in Uganda, they have the right to say what they want. So right now, Uganda has been trying to renegotiate these deals, assuming they probably want to get out of it because they want to probably pay it off and get them out and take over their own country again. But I don't think it's going to happen that way. So here's just more stories here. So it's talking about the airport, international airport, basically is, in the process of being forfeited on, where China will take it over and call all the shots. So they're trying to renegotiate. So the country of Uganda is basically trying to get out of this. They're trying to make some tweaks to the agreement. And one of the agreements is that it says here that one of the clauses that Ugandan officials reportedly wants to change is the requirement for the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority to seek approval from China for its budgets and strategic plans. So as a part of this deal negotiation is they have to check in with China on how they spend their own funds for things done within the country, especially when it comes to the things that they borrowed money for, which is the aviation at this point, which is the airport. So, when you have to ask your debt masters, can you use their funds for your own benefit? That's slavery on top of slavery in a new form. And that's the problem with this current debt system. It's running its course, it's dead. And so here we're witnessing stories such as this. And so I'll get to the next one, but give you an idea how severe it is. It says, but the airport loan is hardly the only financial tie and vulnerability Uganda has when it comes to China. Uganda currently owes approximately 1.6 billion in loans to China for financing extensive infrastructure development projects. And so it talks about China's Belt and Road Initiative, whatever. So as of right now, Uganda's in a hole for 1.6 billion on top of, I'm sure, interest and everything else. So this new gold fine of approximately $12 trillion, it sounds good. But then again, it's good to say that China will get first dibs at that. And they will probably have some issues if they end up denying China the rights to come in and help with this gold extraction. And so Uganda will have to pick a side. They'll either continue to be bullied by the West with the sanctions, or they're going to be bullied by China. So anyway it goes, Uganda's caught in the middle. So my point is that $12 trillion fine that they've uncovered in today's dollar terms, the chance of that seeing the light of day between now and anytime the next couple years during this reset is not likely. So therefore, the current gold they're finding there will not have any impact whatsoever on the current gold market. And on top of that, as I said before, there's probably more gold underground on this planet than we know of. But the thing is, getting it out of the ground, getting it refined, and getting it into vaults or hands, whatever, the process moving forward will not be as likely as it was years and years ago, because the move is to go digital. So anything that they decide to do as far as digging gold out of the ground, it won't be really counted in the public's hands as a monetary metal type of form, just because as of now the central banks around the world are still accumulating gold. So if Uganda's gold is pulled out the ground, it's going to go sit in whoever pulls it out the ground's vault as an anchor for the next system when it comes out, because they will definitely require a open vault policy saying that we have this amount of tons, you got this ton. So depending on your tonnage will determine your say-so in how the next monetary system operates. And that 320,000 tons, whatever, they're not going to get that out. You can't get that out in a year or two. That's probably a 10, 15, 20-year project at best. So between now and then, most of us won't be concerned with money based upon the events that's going down. So don't worry, don't fret. That gold and even including the silver in the ground will not threaten, current stackers at this current moment, just because it ain't coming out of the ground. So anyway, keep it moving. So just want to give some calm to those who might feel that, oh, should I, and I see comments out there, but about the lack of scarcity when it comes to gold, it's irrelevant in this case, because what's going on now is much bigger than just monetary situations. We have the governance crisis. We have the continual push for that health stuff, which is going to alter people's lives. And the most important issue is the supply chain, which is being deliberately disrupted. Therefore, there's going to be a shortage of real world goods like food, clean water to drink, energy. So those are the three primary things that people should probably figure out how they can maneuver around, because based upon how societies are broken down in other countries like Venezuela, Zimbabwe, it's the people who have the means to acquire those things that will have access to those things. And so, and no doubt, gold and silver, as well as certain digital projects, will have provide you the opportunity to be able to acquire what you need. Because once again, majority of people don't even have precious metals in their possession. Nevertheless, cryptocurrencies either. So it's not much of a threat in the long run, in my opinion. Anyway, on top of that, when it comes to gold, we have the Grand Canyon as well as all the federal lands out west that is, I'm sure, has way more gold and silver and everything else in it, they're not fine in Uganda. It's just that it's federal lands and it's not a part of the plan right now to use. But if it was a matter of like, show us your gold or sit down and shut up, the US, if it was about that, they could easily go to the Grand Canyon and do an essay of the land there, and they'll probably have the same amount of gold, but it'll take 5, 10, 20 years because once again, it's very energy intensive, but that's not a part of their plan right now. So keep it moving. Hope that kind of made sense, and feel free to share your thoughts. But just to let you know what's still happening right now, despite all the noise, central bank gold purchases back in positive territory. So despite all the possible FUD out of Uganda of, this gold is going to crash. No, okay. Central banks are still getting it because between now and the time they need it to transition to the next monetary system, it's going to be how much gold you got, you know what I'm saying? And all that other stuff can walk. But just to give an idea of what's going on here, it says central banks gold flipped back to net positive in April because, mind you, last 15 years, most central banks been either repatriating or selling off their gold because more than likely the central bank's puppets were told to do so to, basically drain countries dry. But it said gold central bank reserves increased by 19.5 tons in April, following net sales of 9.4 in March. It says the trend was largely driven by Central Asian nations. Uzbekistan was the largest purchaser. Turkey and Kazakhstan were also in there getting gold. So those are the Eurasian countries. So those are the outskirts of Russia. So it's good to say, and this is just my suspicion here, that in order to have a seat at the table in this next shift that's underway right now, I'm gonna get to that shift in one moment, you're gonna have to have some form of collateral that the world knows and recognizes and has value regardless of where you're located at geographically. And of course, it's going to be, oil, ideally. Russia has the most as of right now. And of course, gold. For the countries don't have oil, you got to have your gold. You're going to have something to bring to the table when we sit down and talk as to how this next basket will shake out, because I don't think the SDR is going to be the primary tool that the rest of the world will agree to use because it's Western led. And according to what Putin just said on Friday, the unipolar world is done. We'll never see it again. So what did he mean by that? That means that there must be something else that they're going to roll out. And that's why I'm saying this next 6 to 12-ish months, we might be getting an announcement of some kind. So let's keep it moving. So outside of the Uganda situation, talking about gold, that just lets you know how important gold still is. Central banks are still getting their weight up. And let's talk more about, let's get into what Mr. Putin said on Friday. And once again, other than just seeing an article or two, I don't really hear nobody talk about this. But to me, with this whole Ukraine-Russia theatrical show, it's more of a distraction to either allow the shift away from the dollar, or will be used as an excuse as to why the dollar will no longer be utilized and recognized globally. And so once again, we hear stuff like this, and this is from the Russian forum that took place this past week that just didn't get talked about much in the East, in the West rather. But here's Putin, a quote from Putin. It says, "Unipolar world order gone forever." And I'm thinking like, wow, like that's a bold statement. He's stating that as if it's a fact. So if he's stating this as if it's a fact, I mean, he must know something, or he must be a part of whatever the alternative might be. Something to keep in mind. All right, so let me check and make sure my mic, okay, because I want to make sure I would hate to be talking and my mic is off. So anyway, let me get a thumbs up if you guys can hear me, because man, that bothered me last week about talking and not hearing, you guys not being able to hear me. So just make sure my volume is good. Let me know. Just throw me a thumbs up, anybody out there, if you're in the chat. And also, if you have not already, hit that thumbs up. I'm against the unipolar world. So ultimately, I'm against the unipolar world is as well. Okay, so we good. Okay, appreciate you. So let's go through this real quick. So this is a quick little synopsis from this article, but this is out of a Russian source, which you other than being linked to, when this boy came out, I checked this news source often because I know the West don't want us to hear it. But anyway, it says this era is over despite all the attempts to revive it and hold on to it at any cost, Russian leader noted. And it says here, taking the podium at the plenary session of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, so the SPIF, they had their own economic forum, because I want to say ever since his last speech at the World Economic Forum, something's changed in reference to the way the narratives have changed. Like he made a comment at the World Economic Forum saying that he don't agree basically with what's going on as far as the West still having all this say so. And here in his own little forum, he lets us know why that is. But on Friday, Vladimir Putin said the era of a unipolar world order has come to an end despite attempts to preserve it at all costs. So ultimately, this unipolar world is referring to the Western dominance of the current monetary system, as well as the military-industrial complex utilized through the U.S. military across the world with 100 and how many ever bases. This is the unipolar world he's referring to. A singular source of command that has dominated the planet forever. He's saying it's over with. So I'll give you an idea. It says a year and a half ago, when speaking at the Davos Forum, it was stressed again that the era of the unipolar world was over, the Russian head of state said, noting that now he would like to begin his address with, there is no getting around this. So basically, we got to talk about this because, and this is just me paraphrasing, trying to think about, getting out of a slavery type of system that's all predicated on one primary source, which is the Federal Reserve note and the puppets that run it. He's saying there is no getting around this. So we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about this. And then I'll encourage you to read it for yourself, but just some of the highlights here. It says this is over despite all the attempts to revive it and hold on to it at any cost. This is a natural process. These changes are a natural course of history because it is difficult to combine the planet's civilization, diversity, the wealth of cultural with political, economic, and other models. These models don't work here. The models that bluntly, without any alternatives, are being imposed upon from one center, referring to the West. It says, according to him, the flaws lie in the very idea where there is a single, albeit strong power with a limited circle of close states, or as they also say, those admitted to it, while all the rules of business and international relations, when necessary, are interpreted exclusively in the interest of that power. That is the one-way street. He said it's a one-sided game. A world based on such of dogmas is definitely unstable. So ultimately, without saying the West, without saying the U.S., without saying the dollar, he's basically saying this unipolar nation that is all centered around one source, one vote, one agenda, one currency, one system. It's over with forever. Despite all the attempts of trying to revitalize it, keep it going, he's saying, in my words, the petrodollar system is over. Therefore, the Federal Reserve note, which is the greatest financial liability on this planet because it is the reserve currency, he's basically saying that this instrument here is done. And so with that level of confidence of him basically sharing how him saying it's over, then I wonder what's next. And to follow up with this, so that was an important discussion given by the president of Putin, of Russia. And then on the same day, we have the central bank chairman, Jerome Powell, also give a speech. So what's the coincidence? What's the likelihood of Putin coming out saying that unipolar world is done? And then the Federal Reserve chairman comes out as well and talking up a U.S. central bank digital currency because he said that there's instability in the global monetary system with using a dollar. You tell me, there are no coincidences in a monetary shuffle. When a monetary order shifts, it's not by accident. It's always intentional. And so just like as I always mention for those that might be new to the channel, I'll just give you a little historical lesson as to how every 100 or so years, give or take, events occur throughout that time frame, lessening the dependency on that particular currency due to a indebted nation growing well beyond their means with debt, not able to sustain it. So they go to war, they create debt, and then there's a ultimate war that leads to the next currency being brought out here. And so I just put out here 2023 is when we might hear an announcement of an alternative that the world will recognize. That's just my suspicion. But anyway, back to this. So let me actually, for those that are tuned in, let me actually play for you this short clip that I put out there on the Twitter sphere talking about, or with Jerome Powell giving his little spiel.
In providing cross-border liquidity to support the real economy. Looking forward, rapid changes are taking place in the global monetary system that may affect the international role of the dollar in the future.
Mm.
Most major economies already have or are in the process of developing instant 24/7 payments. Our own FedNow service will be coming online in 2023. And in light of the
2023.
tremendous growth in crypto assets and stablecoins, we are examining whether a U.S. central bank digital currency would improve upon what is an already safe and efficient domestic payment system.
Safe and efficient.
As our white paper on this topic
So just listen to this. This is the part that
is
tripped
in the
me out.
global monetary system that may
Listen to this.
rapid
This
changes
the Putin
are
part.
taking place in the global monetary. Looking forward, rapid changes are taking place in the global monetary system that may affect the international role of the dollar in the future.
All right. That's all he need to say. Changes are taking place in the global monetary system that will impact the future use of the dollar. Putin said that unipolar world is over. Now he's talking about these changes. What exactly is he talking about? Oh, could this have anything to do with the shift away and the creation of something, a new alternative, which of course it's already created. It's already done. The computer code is already written. The bricks are already ready to roll. They just need more pain, more devastation in between so that it makes it easier to make that announcement in the end. And of course, at this current moment, all those nations that are moving away from the dollar, they're still sitting on large stockpile of fiat, Federal Reserve note, and Treasury stockpiles. So you can't just dump them things because everything will come down at once. So you got to slowly but surely lessen your dependency on U.S. liabilities by spending them in real time. And so you factor in the Fed is fighting inflation, but then you got all those other nations unloading all those dollars into the system. They have to go somewhere. Where do they go? They go to real world things. So if you're China, you already spent trillions or maybe $1 trillion or $2 trillion helping develop Africa for your own purposes. You got Russia. They got for 300 or so million, froze up somewhere, or how much ever, 600 million, I think it is, froze up. So the biggest thing is those nations, they realize the need to get rid of those things while they still can. And just to show you how that is and why that is, do I have another article here? Give me 1 second. I just came across an article, but I did not put it up here. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because it's important, because all this stuff is starting to tie into some type of systemic event that's coming. And let me see if I did put it up here. I did not. So anyway, there's an article talking about how Japan and okay, let me see. So Japan and I think it was China are dumping treasuries at a very alarming rate. And so even Japan, so here we go here. Let me see. No, let me see. Yes, no. So we talked about the China dumping because they don't want to be stuck holding the bag. Okay, so no, what if China dumped the treasury? So here's an article here, but this is just a question that was put out there, which was earlier this year, but it's been confirmed that they are. So it's no longer like a matter of if and when. So here's just an article. What if China and Japan dump their U.S. treasuries? So this is just when I'll try to find an article. There is an article out here. This confirms and it shows some graphs as to how they're lessening their dependency on U.S. liabilities. So it is in motion. It's been in motion for some time now. But anyway, keep it moving. So we got Putin talk about the unipolar world is over. We have, Jerome Powell coming out saying basically the dollar global system is going to have some problems. It's over with. To me, that's his confession that the Federal Reserve SWIFT system is no longer being preferred as the primary way of doing interoperable overnight settlements, in financial terms around the world. They have alternatives. So we've been talking about the BRICS, the SIPs and the chips and all the other alternative payments out there. And of course, they're all interoperable. I'm sure they're flowing right now with no problem in whatever currency they're using. This stuff is already done, in my opinion. And so in this article here, this is just a little snippet from the clip I played. But Jerome Powell, to basically play out the narrative of a CBDC, because once again, the CBDC and the Fed wire is a part of the SWIFT system, which is already built out. And I think it goes, the total system itself goes live in August and is fully functional in November or something like that we talked about. But anyway, so this is all about preparing the world for after the dollar is, has its overnight just complete falling off of the cliff. that there'll be something to roll out there. And that's all this CBD stuff is about. So here's a quote. It says, U.S. central bank digital currency could potentially help maintain the dollar's international standing. He's there. I mean, to be honest, they're lying because the CBDC is solely for domestic uses only for the citizens that will be dependent upon this rebranded currency. The world itself will not be looking to use a CBDC issued by the dollar because you can't have trust in that. That's the same system. And Putin just said we're done with the unipolar world. So that means they're going to have something that will be more conducive to meet everyone's needs rather than the agenda of the West. And so here, I guess the feedback, it says, as we consider feedback, we will be thinking not just about the current state of the world, but also how the global financial system might evolve in the next 5 to 10 years. CBDCs will be domestic countries for sure. It says 10 countries have already launched central bank digital currencies and another 105 are exploring the option. It says the dollar remains underpinned by key fundamentals, including a commitment to transparency, the rule of law, and the full independence of the Fed. So, but ultimately, they've already given up, and it's a wrap. The West is moving on. So just so you know, the Federal Reserve note and its liabilities pending to it, they're in danger severely. Okay, a couple more articles here. So just give you an idea as to how things are continuing to move forward. It says South Africa considers, they probably already are in their own, because South Africa and Russia, they're part of their own that new interoperable system payment structure. So it's good to say they already got some stuff going, but we're just hearing about it. But it just says South Africa considers buying Russian oil to tackle energy inflation, a move that could boost Moscow's coffers. So amongst all this talk about sanctioning Russia, the world needs Russia for their energy sake. So it's good to say they already got something signed, sealed, delivered. It's just a matter of when it's officially announced. So yeah, don't be surprised. And another one here. So over here in this country, the U.S. gas tax holiday. This is as of tonight. Janet Yellen gave a quick little news briefing, and she was asked a question about Biden, and she was like, Biden wants to do everything he can, and so this gas tax holiday is worth considering. Basically, freezing the current taxation on gas from the federal level, which will save you about 18 cents in a sense. So that's once again their way of trying to fight high gas prices, rather than just continue to issue leases and opening up pipelines and just, incentivizing companies or oil manufacturers to get busy pumping more. They're talking about begging Saudi Arabia. And so if they really wanted to save people from the dire pain of the pump, dial back on this going green cap and just, transition over the next 30 years rather than just say by 2030, we're going to have nothing but come on now. So anyway, so this federal gas tax will save people 18 cents. So whatever it's worth. But once again, it's going to come back to bite somebody else in the butt. And then the last one here, that's the last one. So anyway, let's talk. Open the phone lines and let me hear you guys' thoughts. Lots of things going on. But I thought those two stories at the end from Putin and Jerome Powell were way more important than the Uganda Gold situation, because the Uganda Gold, for those that are coming late, it's a tug of war between the U.S. sanctions and China that owns Uganda. And we'll see who wins. But that gold is going to end up in somebody's vault, and it will not benefit the country of Uganda. And it will be used as to add to the total amount of tonnage in somebody's vault when it's time to sit down at the table and talk about that next system. Because it's my suspicion that the nations that got the most gold, that'll be, as well as probably other resources that you can bring to the table, that'll be your measurement in that next basket of currencies or whatever it might be. So the SDR, is using fiat currencies, which as of now, the dollar is the most dominant one. In this next monetary structure, is my suspicion that the amount of tonnage you have verified will give you a certain percentage in the decision makings in that basket, as well as if you are heavy in weed, if you're heavy in injury, whatever you can bring to the table from the earth, that'll give you voting rights to be able to have a say-so in this next order as things move forward. And then, of course, domestically, all those countries will have CBDCs, which will be the slave tools for their people. So, it's the same system, man. If the same people in charge remain in power, it'll just be a new system with solely digitals. Cashless society will be a part of the equation. They're going to remove cash because that's a threat in this old debt model that they have in place right now. Anyway, let's talk. Hello, caller. Where are we calling from? Lost you. Give me a call back. I'll get you on here. Let me put up my little branding. So if you have not already, hit that thumbs up button. Show your support for the channel as always. Thumbs up is definitely appreciated because it helps more people hopefully find out what's going on. All right, let's get this party started. Let me exit out some things here. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Latrice calling from Brooklyn.
Latrice, how you doing? What's going on with you? Give me a quick thought.
Okay, you say quick thought. You gave a whole rant like that and going to give me a quick thought.
I'm trying to get as many calls as I can here.
I know. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to be real quick. I haven't called you in a long time. First of all, happy Father's Day.
Appreciate you.
Okay. Yes, no worries. Okay, so now starting from the top with this whole thing with Uganda. Listen, over there in Africa, everybody knows there's gold reserves and all types of mineral reserves over there. The Bible, when it describes the Garden of Eden, and it tells you like certain things about the landmarks or the things that were notable about the area, it tells you that I believe it's Havilah is the land of gold, right?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be a fine gold. So, and when you learn about archaeology and geography of ancient times, you'll find that the maps have changed. And Africa was considered a part of what they call now the Middle East, right? Because the Suez Canal is what really created the whole Middle East. Once they separated that portion of land in Egypt that disconnected Africa through Egypt over into what they call the Middle East, then, that changed everything. But with that being said, they had a whole meeting earlier this year with the EU and everything, and their goal with the European Union was saying with the African Union that they wanted to form an alliance because they think about the future. And of course, with the fingers crossed behind the back, they're saying that they would like to use the resources and the land and everything to help bring about this new technological utopia, basically, that they're talking about, right? So I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what they're saying, right? But we know in between the lines, they want to just rob the land, stinking blind, and take all the goods for themselves, and everybody else can just fall to the wayside. But the one thing I wanted to get out of this call tonight, because I would love to minister to your callers tonight, because this is very vital. God has led me to this, and this is very key for you, Mike, because you said so many times on this air that you was looking to do more for the kingdom of God and help.
Correct.
And I've noticed you've been putting out scripture stuff. Continue to be loving, kind, thoughtful, considerate, patient, have joy, keep peace, the 9 fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
All of these things is what the Lord is requiring of us. This is what required of his children.
Right.
You are a child of God. Your name is Michael. It means who is like God. When we give our testimony on who is like God, we will fulfill what the scriptures say in the book of Revelation, that the saints overcame the enemy through the blood of the Lamb and our testimony. And with that, to all the callers, as the world is going into this new so-called metaverse that we're already living in, but they want to make it digital, please. It is so important that you do not lose your humanity. You do not get lost in all of these things, because the future that they have, all that NFT stuff right now is just digital. We're going to be the NFTs. I'm not saying I'm talking about all these people that they want to sit up with, because those inoculations is causing us to become cyborgs.
Yeah.
That all that the circuitry and all that stuff, that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna make a cyborg.
Right.
We're gonna become products for whatever these companies are and build face in them. That's why they're getting all the patents and they're acquiring all these things.
Right.
And with all of this stuff, we're going to be part of the metaverse. We'll be the NFT in the metaverse. Again, everybody was one of your callers always references Black Mirror, but they showed some of this. Like one of the episodes of one of the people, all the people had to keep running on the treadmill and stuff like that in a competition, and it was always like this desire to want to win, but it was the way they had the people play and express like that. I can't remember the episode. I don't want to get into it. I'm trying to quick, but again, we already know from the program and the future that they have. So this is why I'm talking about not to lose your humanity, because as people, remember the scriptures say that many are going to fall away. It's going to be a great falling away. Right. So it is so important for people not to lose their humanity. Continue to find a reason to give thanks every day that you are alive. Find something to be thankful, grateful for, to be blessed, to be alive, to have it. No matter what's going on in the world, keep finding something that makes you say, you know what? I'm going to keep fighting the good fight. I'm going to keep trying to do the best I can to be the best version of me and to be the change I want to see in the world. Last thing, Mike, I have a word for you and your wife, and it's a private word, but it's a word of warning, and it's a word of blessing from the Lord.
Well, do me a favor. Send it to me. Hit me up on Telegram. Send it to me on Telegram.
I'm gonna send you my telephone number on Telegram.
Oh no, yeah, or DM me on Telegram or shoot me an email. Go to rethinkingdollar.com / left-hand side. Shoot me an email. We'll talk. Appreciate you. Let me get a couple more people in, but appreciate you though.
Of course, yes. Thank you, and just continue the great, awesome work. I love you. I love you like a brother.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great one.
You as well.
God bless you all.
Hello, caller. Where are you calling from? Hello.
Hey, my name is Tim, and I'm from Wisconsin.
Tim, how you doing, my friend? Give me a quick thought. What's in your mind?
All right, real quick. I had all these things to think about, and I just turned on my computer and I saw you, so they all went out of my mind. So
gotta jot it down. Jot you some notes down. bring it to, if you can't think of it now, bring it tomorrow night. We'll touch on it tomorrow night too. So let me know. What else going on with you, man?
Real quickly. It's coming to a head. So it's incredible what's gonna, so
we are.
Everything, and take care.
I appreciate you, man. Yeah, right. Jot those notes down. Call me tomorrow, man. Appreciate you.
Okay.
Yep.
Take care.
Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Hey, upstate New York.
Hey there, buddy. What's going on with you? What's in your mind?
Hey, man, I just think you got it wrong with the gold and the cryptos.
Okay, give it to me. Set me straight then.
I mean, if the gold's just getting their supply restricted in Africa, I mean, that's just as fake as cryptos are.
You say gold getting there. It's getting what in Africa now?
Restricted in Uganda.
Right.
I mean,
so
if it's all just sitting there.
Right. So no, but I'm saying but it's good to say that Uganda's not the only place that's probably sitting on buku tonnage. I mean, the continent itself is probably just loaded. Every country probably sitting on large stashes, but it's either being deliberately suppressed, or they're not allowed to say anything, or it's being extracted and nobody's hearing about it. So we don't know, but it's good to say with all the central banks running the gold that it's a part of a plan of some kind. So if they do find a whole lot like they say they do, the chance of them allowing that gold into the system to disrupt their plan is probably not likely. And within the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, 20 years, sure. But, we won't really care about that time. But anyway, go ahead. Uh-oh, you're breaking up on me. Yeah, I computerized. But go ahead. Let's see if you came through. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
I mean, I just think the whole thing's alive on the gold end and on the crypto end. In the gold or crypto, gold or can manipulate. So, like, what's the difference?
So I apologize, but you were computerized chopping up, and you say something about between manipulating the cryptos and the gold. What's the difference? I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
Man, I apologize. I can't hear you. Do me a favor. Put that question.
All right, Mike. Thanks for taking my call.
I apologize. No, go. It's clear right now. Go ahead and give it to me real quick. Give me that question real quick, and I'll answer off air.
No. It's basically the two things. If they're both controlled, I mean, the point is meeting the controllers.
Right. Beating that's the government. That's the government.
This or that. They're both the same.
Right.
It's money down the well.
Correct.
Whether it's this or that.
Correct. I agree. And that's where, our biggest concern to me is not necessarily the money. And so like everybody's saying out here, if you fix the money, you fix the world. I'm like, no, fix the government structure. Because if this democracy is in the form we have now, which is not for us, continues, it's just going to be.
Right. We got to get to the root of it.
Right. We got to get to it's the lack of leadership and the hijacking and that public-private merger between the Davos crowd and businesses and governments. That right there needs to be addressed before we talk about what's the best form, whether it's gold, crypto, Bitcoin, whatever. If we don't stop the people who making the call, who writing the rules, then we're going to be in the same trap no matter what. Because people think that by going to Bitcoin, you got your keys and whatever, you good. But no, if the government's setting the rules, they're gonna find a way to make sure you don't enjoy what you were so willing to hold, because you're still living in a government with rules and regulations. And
I hear you, Mike.
Yeah.
But it's still the same thing with gold.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
still the same thing with gold.
But when it comes time to trying to use that for some form of a medium of exchange, gold will always have a price. It'll always carry a price because it's needed, as well as silver. And everything from the earth, regardless, is not going nowhere. It's for us to use. Now, how we price it, what we price it in, that's to be determined.
That doesn't address our struggle, though. Like the gold, it's there in Uganda.
Yeah,
no.
no.
Nobody's gonna go get it. They're gonna use it as a lease and chain, just like they do the crypto. It's not different.
Well, okay, but that gold in Uganda, in my opinion, will not see the light of day. So, between now and next year, when we need,
it's like talking about unmined Bitcoin or locked up ETH.
Yeah,
like I mean, it's like an unrealized asset. Will or will not be capitalized on, but as long as they keep us trading around the same chips,
right?
Like it doesn't matter what those chips are made of.
In the short term, no, but in the long run, when everything is revealed, I'd imagine, the way people thought about SHA-256 and all the protocols and networks, when we find out more as to how that was a part of the plan from jump, I'd imagine more people would wish they were holding something tangible, whether it's a can of beans to eat, what I'm saying, or whatever it is that's in the real world, rather than, the computerized world, which is where they want us to go. So you got to choose one. You can't, you can do both. But then again, one will be exposed in the future, in my opinion. So, and I would prefer to be in the real world rather than the metaverse or some alternative reality with glasses on, or being plugged into some circuit network and being used as a pawn. So that's just me, man. But anyway, you're gonna have to choose something, because what else you're gonna use as a way of preserving and protecting yourself in the future? Something, house, real estate, a car.
Well, I mean, I'm choosing both. I'm doing both.
Yeah.
And the faith in the Lord, like you're saying.
100%.
Like I agree 100% on that. But I just don't think either one is going to lead us into. I think they're both just. They're just tools under the freaking feet.
They're just tools. They're tools. They're not as tools to help you. I guess take hold your time, your energy, your skill accountable for something moving forward. Because if you ain't got nothing, then like literally, how will you sustain yourself in any other way apart from relying upon your faith and things of that nature? So, but hey, appreciate you, man. Let me get some more calls in.
No, yeah, thanks, Mike. Sorry for going hard.
Oh no, you good. Hey, man, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Hey, cool.
Good stuff. So yeah, I get your point. So whether it's computer codes or whether it's chemical elements, which I always refer to the periodic table. Even not talking about gold and silver, like, platinum, palladium, iron, nickel, everything that we use in the real world originates on that periodic table. So having exposure to anything else out there will definitely come in handy moving forward, because if you're a person who has handiwork skills and you can extract some of those minerals or whatever and turn it into something and serve it, you're going to always be in demand. So therefore, anything that you can take from the earth, turn it into something and put it out there, hell, you're saying you good. I'm saying, no matter where you at, you be good no matter what. All right, let me get some. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's Bill from Corpus Christi. How's it going?
LBP, doing good, man. What's on your mind?
Look, man, I don't know why people are so mad at President Brandon, Janet Yellen, and Jerome Powell. They're doing a wonderful job, Mike. They're doing exactly what I want them to do. Destroy.
Yeah, but think about this. They're destroying it. What's the build back process going to be like? Will they be also the ones calling the shots when it's time to build it back? Because we can't live in a underdeveloped world. We got to have some type of civilized approach towards our future, I think.
Mike, they're not going to win, Mike. How are they going to pay the enforcement? It's not going to work.
I hope so. I hope so. I can ride with that. I hope so. But once again, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I'm just gonna say Happy Father's Day to you, and It's going to be wonderful, Mike. We don't have to worry. It's going to be great on the other side. It's going to be better than now.
Hey, I can get in a faith with you on that statement, man. I ride with that one. Appreciate you, man.
All right, Mike.
Big up. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let me get to some questions out here. So Witcher's work says RTD gold and silver will carry price, but it will be in exchange for this system. Unless you have an underground system to trade, you will need to get into the system to receive value. No doubt. And so I think everything it will be in phases. Like we're not going to go straight to a cashless society like overnight. I think cash will still be in circulation with very little trust. But then again, there'll be other things that pop up that people will use. The barter system will be available. Of course, barring some type of unforeseen technology glitch, there'll be some networks out there utilizing cryptographic tokens. And so there'll be a couple different options. And of course, fractional gold, you got nickels, dimes, quarters, you got everything that's constitutional still used. And so that right there gives you 3 or 4 options possibly to trade with somebody. Now it's a matter of which one the free market will choose as the best option as time moves forward. We'll see. But then again, the CBDCs that will come after the correction, and it will be received with welcoming arms when the majority. So mind you, only 200 and so people tune in here, and in the alternative media space in general is maybe 1%, 2% of the 300 million people in this country, 300 plus million people in this country. So the other 98% or so equates to, 200 or so million people, or that's not good math, but you get my point. So it's good to say that the people who are suffering the most severe losses will run to CBDCs with ease because it's government approved. It'll be legal tender, and it'll be required in order to participate in the banking system. If you try to get back into the rebuilding of the financial system with all the financial products, they're going to try to get people back in. So you're going to have your digital ID on your wallet, your Fed wallet, your digital ID plugged into your KYC, AML, all that stuff. If you want to participate in the secular economy after it's being destroyed and being rebuilt. But then again, a parallel economy will be whatever you do hand to hand, cash to hand, silver to hand, QR code, Monero to Monero, whatever you use, it's going to be multiple options. But then again, in the long run, it's not about us. So we're in the know. It's the unborn. It's our children's children that will be the primary focal point for 20 years, 30 years down the line. They're going to be cashless all the way through. They're going to be the ones that don't mind using their biometric identification for payments. Like, our unborn kids and our kids out of convenience and comfortability, they're going to be the ones willing to use their thumb to pay or use their eye or allow something to be plugged up to them. So this is not for us. Like, this transition is just 10, 15 years of uncomfortableness. But most of us, more than likely, won't be around, in that time down the line because one way or another, I'm saying, like, your time just might be up. So it's about the unborn that this structure is being built for. So the metaverse will be welcomed with open arms for the babies right now, the infants right now and their children. Oh man, they're going to be plugged in. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I mean, because all that right there is just biblically speaking, where we're heading, where we have to go. And so at the end of this, it's not going to look pretty. I mean, there's no way around that. And so whether or not, we're able to push back now to resist and hold off, sure. But we have to get to the end of Revelations. You know what I'm saying? So that's just how things go. But that's a good thing because for my believers out there, like, this is not the end of the story for everybody. And that's the good news. The good news is, like, this is just a test run. This is just us passing through, taking advantage of the blessings that we've been given. But then again, it's just temporary because you will take your last breath at some point. Now, between now and that last breath, what do you do for the kingdom of God? It's going to be the primary focal point that you'll carry for all of eternity, in my opinion. So that's why it's imperative to incorporate the spiritual element of things, because what's the point of just talking about money when money can't buy you into heaven? Money can't do nothing for you other than in this natural life right now. But then again, as I mentioned, money ain't our biggest problem. It's our government. Our government is our biggest problem because the same people who got us into this are trying to give solutions to get us into the system that the private, merger in Davos is already planned. Like when you got, so I put this article up here. So it says 5 things to know about CRISPR and gene editing in this era. So they already got the systems ready to go, like genetic editing, gene editing. is a part of the plan, like not necessarily for us, but for our children's children. So everything is now just a transition phase. It's always ugly during a transition phase, but it's just not about us. So this is how, if we really wanted to bring about change, like generational change, it will be most important for the people who are awake and aware to be more active in being involved in politics, speaking out. And it happens to be more of the small minority, approximately 100 or so million people, the ones that happen to have followed the last administration and the rhetoric that he spoke about, make America great, loving the country first, putting the U.S. interest first, and no foreign entanglements, and getting back to some type of credible money source and all that stuff like that. If those people were to be more vocal and just demand immediate change and be willing, and this is the part where it gets ugly, be willing to sacrifice themselves for the unborn of the next generation, then we'll have a much greater chance at seeing change. But then again, the 30-year-old and up, unfortunately, this is me. I just think that we as a whole, and I can include myself in this, we're probably too selfish like the millennials and the baby boomers. We're probably too selfish to be sacrificial for the unborn and our children's children, meaning that, and this goes to that quote I mentioned a while ago, unless you found something worth dying for, you've not found a reason to live. And in order to really bring about change or to slow things down, there need to be more people willing to lay it out on the line. And I don't think most of our generations have it in them because of just naturally, feeling comfortable. Man, we live in the greatest country on the planet, but we're losing that right now. They're coming after your guns. And as I said before 2024, we will not get to 2024 in the way we have in prior elections. It's just the way our country is trending. There'll be some events that come about that will cause some national emergencies, lockdowns, or some type of cataclysmic events that will lead us to if there is an election, because if they go to national emergency, which I think once again, 2 years ago, President Trump put us in national emergency, and I don't think they've actually took that away. So we're technically still in a national emergency. So I think that the military really still runs things, and all the other Biden Harris is just theatrics. That's just my opinion. But my point is, unless we have the people who know what's going on stand up and find a way to unite to disrupt everything, we're going to be led astray, and everything's going to end in a very uncomfortable way. But then again, it's not for us, it's for our children's children. That's what all this is for. And that's the generation that won't know God. That's the generation that, unfortunately, the Bible by that time will be outlawed, and scripture is not even really read now amongst our youth, apart from parents, requiring or whatever. The religious scene going to be illegal. All the stuff that the Bible tells us is like it's in our future. If this generation don't stand up right now and demand change and be willing to lay it down for change. But once again, that's just wishful thinking because it requires sacrifice, and not too many people are willing to lay it down for a stranger. Nevertheless, their immediate household, unless they actually have to. So imagine, dying for a stranger. Only one person did that. That was Christ. Anyway, I'm ranting too much. But with the hour point, not going to take any more calls. I apologize. I missed a lot of calls. But the whole point of checking in tonight was to just give you some updates. And so just as a recap for all my people who tuned in late, we talked about the Uganda situation and how, don't be fooled. That gold is not leaving the ground, because China owns a good chunk of Uganda, and they're going to have to choose. And on top of that, the West, Uganda is under heavy Western sanctions from the U.S. So the U.S., that tug of war, Uganda got some decisions to make. And just being indebted to another nation is not good. And that's what Uganda is going through right now. And of course, central banks are still getting gold. So they definitely not going to let this newfound gold disrupt their plans. So just so you guys know. I forgot where we got here. And then also, this is the most important article. This is the most important article here. Putin already said the dollar's done. He just didn't say it outright. But this unipolar world means the dollar. So Putin said on Friday, that's what it is. At the same time, Jerome Powell came out and said that the dollar is going to be under threat and we need to be ready for it. Okay, you telling us what Putin already told us. So anyway, that's just a little recap for all those who came in late. But as always, man, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. If you found anything of value in this, segment, take this video, share it with your family and friends, or copy and paste some of these stories, research it, do your own videos, and definitely join the community pages and share what's on your radar there. And other than that, find RTD on all these platforms, social media tab down below. And if you're new, click that subscribe, hit that bell. And back at it tomorrow, same time, same place. Be blessed, be safe, and I will see you guys later. Peace.